start feeling, well, it's definitely time to get out. The danger point is when the blood leaves the extremities to concentrate on the core. I last little over a minute, after which I feel I can make for the bank without having to let myself down. It's not uncommon. I'm letter told for people to drown as a result of inhaling water while in the early throes of shock. Oh, really? I reply, sipping on hot coffee. This whole people dying thing was rather downplayed in the pre-bath pep talk. So why do you do this? Seems a reasonable question to put to the group once we are safely gathered around the fire. There must be wonderful health benefits. No, says the stouter of the two men, the one with what I now see is an impressively purple nose. Not really. It's about doing something crazy because we all need a bit of craziness in our lives. It certainly feels good to be alive, standing on that snow-covered beach wrapped in towels and coats and fleeces. There's something friendly exciting in a hot curry and to find rush kind of way about the pain I have just put myself through. After maybe 2 or 3 seconds of utter bafflement, you do start to feel the rough, jolting friction of so many urgent messages barreling along so many neural pathways. Just no way this doesn't have a stimulating effect mentally. The only danger is that in your post-swim euphoria, you stand about patting yourself on the back for too long with nothing on your feet and wonder why 2 hours later, once the sensation has returned to every other part of you, your toes are still numb, but there's no time to hang around worrying about circulation. You've got to fly for the north. So this seems to be a struggle of a swimmer, right? Whereas the same thing we actually kind of figure out in the other story. What was the name of that story? Rock and a Hard Place. There we find that there was a guy who was actually a mountaineer, right? He was probably, he was a person who used to actually do mountain climbing, and he actually had the similar kind of struggle, right? However, he actually came into a situation where he had to lose his limbs or hand, limbs, right? Yeah, he lost his limbs because of the fact that he was a little maybe over adventurous, and he got stuck in between two pieces of rock, probably, and so as a result of which he actually got rid of his limbs. But here we don't find any kind of casualty happening, right? But there, yes, we figure out that there is a kind of an apparent struggle happening, kind of in the life of a swimmer, right? And this struggle is not really, kind of any ordinary struggle. It's actually a life-taking struggle, probably. If the person actually goes down to a temperature of -4 degrees Celsius, and that also totally naked, right? And so the struggle is to save one's life in that chilling cold condition, right? And the water is -1, right? And there's nothing to push, but there's nothing to do about it, but to push on and hope to be home by Christmas, right? So, and what else? And the struggle continues uh, until they actually kind of reach such a situation where they are literally kind of hyperventilating, right? And hyperventilating means they are breathing very fast, and then the body is actually adjusting, but you don't know kind of the feeling of cold. Okay, the feeling of cold that is there, that is actually life threatening, right? And the point here is that when the blood leaves the extremities to concentrate on the core, he is literally feeling kind of coming. He's literally in a situation where he feels that he has lost his life, right? So he keeps kind of he keeps inhaling, and and then somehow or the other, probably he comes out of the sea or the water, right? He keeps on sipping hot coffee, right? And and then seems sort of a question to put to the group once we use it. So, or kind of they at the end of the day, they are actually kind of out of the dangerous sea and the cold water, right? And they are now actually kind of safe and secure. The only way out to make themselves safe and secure right now is to make sure that they do something to ward off the cold conditions that they got into, right? So they are literally freezing, and in order to ensure that the backlash of the freezing temperature that they were in does not take a toll on their lives, right? They have to take certain precautionary measures, right? And they actually start sipping on hot coffee, right? And then after that they actually gather around the fire, all right, to ensure that they get a little warm. And at the end of the day, it's actually a feeling of happiness and a feeling of ecstasy, because they feel that they are at last alive, and they are actually standing on the snow-covered beach uh, in their coats and towels and fleeces, and uh, and the feeling is extremely kind of heartening, because they just came out from the claws of death, right? And what else? But still, it's not really that they are out of danger, right? Because their body is still numb, and that they have to do a lot of things to ensure that they don't really kind of get into a situation of post drowning, kind of they don't get into a backlash where they actually have to go back to the same state of losing their life for that matter, right? But still, though they are safe, mentally they feel very feeble, and they are baffled. That means they are confused, right, as to what exactly went on with them. Um, However, there is also a feeling of achievement, a feeling of euphoria is also there, because they have actually kind of swimmed. They have actually swum at a temperature of probably -4 degrees Celsius, which was, kind of more than freezing, right? Their body is numb, but their feeling is, kind of is that of an excitement and happiness. And however, they don't have to kind of lose their time in this euphoria, that they have actually been able to save their lives, and they have been able to come out of danger, and they have been actually been able to kind of keep them warm as well, because now they have to move to the northern side, right? So it appears that there is a high drama out here. It appears that there is actually a feeling of excitement, euphoria, adventure, right? They want to achieve something big, and in the course of achievement of this kind of you can say this kind in the course of achievement of this kind of ambition or the aim, right? They have literally come out of the claws of death, and they just kind of made it at the nick of the time. Otherwise, they would have drowned in that icy water, right? The feeling is emphatic, but at the same time, they are actually kind of numb and a little kind of upset as well, right? They are nervous, they are feeble, right? But they are not losing their hope. The level of motivation seems to be really very high. The determination and the grit that is there in their mind and heart is admirable, because they have just decided that they're going to move to the northern side now, right? So out of the claws of death, right, out of the cusp of death, they are not really kind of demotivated, right? Now they are going to move to the northern side, and they are all set for that, right? This is what this text kind of puts across to us. And talking about the text, that means talking about the story of Rock and a Hard Place, we find the same level of, you can say, psyche, the same mindset to achieve, no matter what kind of obstruction comes in their way. They're not going to, the person is not going to be led on by the hassles and the botherations of adventure. He's a mountaineer. He's actually a person who believes in climbing mountains, no matter how dangerous and how hazardous the entire adventure is, right? So in the course of his adventure, he actually goes on to lose his limbs, but that does not deter him to go ahead and do more adventurous, kind of adventurous stuffs for that matter. His grit and determination is unshakable, and he wants to explore more unexplored mountains and rocky areas, right? This person, what was his name? Forgot the name of that protagonist. Rock and a Hard Place. Guy.
I think it's Rouston.
Rustin, yeah, yeah, Rouston.
Yeah, with an Ralston.
Rouston, yeah, that is T. Roston, yeah, this one. Oh, sorry. Let me type in Rols, right?
Yeah.
Rolston, or T-N or T-O-N?
I think it's Ton, but I'll double check.
Rolston, yeah. Yeah, that's correct. Ralston, yeah, we have this guy Ralston who is actually having the same level of grit and determination. But no matter he actually came back from the cusp of death, he lost his limbs, right? But that was not enough to stop him and kind of prevent him from doing more adventurous, kind of initiatives in future, right? He's not going to stop there. He's going to explore the unexplored because that's his job that he's doing. Okay, and so we find that one thing that is similar in between the two stories is the fact that we have two sets of people with a high level of grit and determination, with a high level of motivation, which seems to be really unshakable, and which actually makes us feel amazed and surprised. Because humans have a tendency of losing the hope, of being pessimistic, and of being hopeless in certain situations, in trying situations especially. But here we come across two sets of people who are actually kind of united with a common feeling of exploring the unexplored, no matter what really comes in their way, right? They are not really surprised, or they are not really kind of shaken by the idea of death, right? Death seems to be a very small thing for them, and they actually come head to, or maybe head to head, or maybe eye to eye to the with the idea of death, right? But still, the determination that was there in their mind and heart was strong enough even to ward off the concept of death, right? So much so that even after swimming at a temperature of -4 or -1 degrees Celsius, the swimmers actually kind of didn't lose their hope, right? They wanted to survive, and the it was their determination to survive, to be alive, that actually saw them through. Okay, that was actually responsible for to ensure that they don't really die, right? So, kind of what can I say here? Even God had to kind of listen to their words. To the God was actually kind of probably I would say that God had to kind of change his plans, right, about their death, right, and he was really probably impressed by their show of guts and the show of motivation while swimming at a temperature of -4 degrees Celsius, right? They didn't actually lose hope, right, and the destiny had something in store, and eventually they actually kind of came out of the clutches of death, right? So that is the idea here we get. And the same level of motivation and the same level of grit is actually present in this guy, that is Ralston, who, despite losing his limbs, doesn't really stop at any one stage of his adventure, right? Though his limbs get kind of stuck in between two pieces of rock, right? He does not lose the hope of living and staying alive, right? He somehow or the other manages to free himself, though he manages to free himself in a very dangerous way. But at the end of the day, he's alive. That is the most important thing. The fact that he would have actually kind of he would have been frozen to death at that stage where he actually got his legs or limbs stuck, right? That was not really a good idea for him. So he decided that he's going to get rid of his legs and free himself so that he could actually stay alive. That shows how much important life is for him, right? So much so that he actually gets rid in from one of his organ, a vital organ of his body. But the idea that he's going to be alive is more important and was more important for him, right? So the fact is that what we figure out from the two texts, from the two stories, is that the idea or the vision is really very bright and burning in their heart. They have a vision and they have a mission to achieve a goal, right? One is a mountaineer, and the other set of people are kind of die-hard swimmers who are actually swimming at a very low temperature, right? Both have goals in their mind and they want to achieve those goals, right? The burning desire to achieve the goal is really very high, and it's quite and their determination is unshakable, right? And that is actually kind of helping them and helps them to achieve the goals for that matter. That is the basic thing that we figure out here. So what else is the difference? What was the other question? Let me see. Text and find similarities and difference in the language and structure the writers have used. Okay, she needs to write an essay on this. Find similarities and difference in the language. Okay, so what similarities and difference in the language you find? First, tell me that. Similarities in the goals and objectives that we have actually figured out. What exactly is the similarity and difference in the language? Becha, what are those things which you come across? Apparently, what do you think might be the similarities and difference in the language?
So, what I noted was that in language, like between the two, we're able to tell that the swimming in the swimming text, the writer was nervous about like what he was going to do, but in The Rock in a Hard Place, the writer was a professional, so he was confident or even overconfident about his abilities. So that was a difference there. Another difference was that in the ice swimming text, the writer was not alone and he had people with him, except in The Rock in a Hard Place, he was on his own, being confident that he was a professional. And one of the similarities were the um, the writer in the swimming text, he had a bit of knowledge beforehand, like he learned about what he like the ice swimming and all of the like techniques and the like dangers and stuff. He learned about it and he knew what he was talking about, as well as the writer in The Rock in a Hard Place. He was a professional, so he knew the techniques such as like chimneying or like other things like that.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, we find that one of the similarities, apart from what you mentioned, was the fact that the both the stories, okay, they end with a note of optimism. Okay, uh,
Both
with a note of optimism in the sense that both of them actually in this particular text, the new text, what do you call it? What is the name of the text here?
the ice swimming text.
The ice swimming. In the ice swimming, we find that the story ends with a note of pessimism and with a note uh, of hopefulness, right? And a new start and a new beginning for that matter after a bat and and a big struggle, right? That means the person is not just going to relax now. The person is actually going for another venture, right? That's what we figured out here, because he's
Mm.
going to fly further north. And I feel that the same level of pessimism has been expressed by this guy. What do you call him? Ralston, right? He also has shown the same level of grit and determination of not stopping, despite the fact he has lost his limbs. Right? If I could just go through his text once, he says the same thing here as well.
Um,
And
on the Rock and a Hard Place text, it ends with more of a note where he's stuck and he can't get out, like he can't move his arm. But I thought that um um
yeah,
in the other text,
yeah,
they
they
end
come
on
out of,
more of a
yes, correct, correct. But he's stuck. He's stuck. Is he able to write? I'll have to just look at the text once. The
it
rock and hard
ends
place.
with come on move and then nothing. So it kind of like it's ending on more of a pessimistic note, while um the ice swimming text is not necessarily pessimistic, but
Hmm.
but he does feel like the sense of like he does feel proud and like like
Yeah,
determined now he's completed the ice swimming.
absolutely. Yeah. So yeah, the fact that he just came out from a bit of struggle was not enough to stop him to think about the next adventure that is there in his mind, right?
Mm.
So if I could just go through the last part, uh, where he says the rock and the hard place. Let me just see the last part once. Where's the entire story? I'm not seeing that. Where's the complete text of the rock and the hard place?
Um, shall I resend it? I thought I put it on the
Yeah,
um group chat with Simone and um me. I'll resend it to you, sir.
yeah, yeah. Now let me just go through it. So Rock and Hard Place has been written by whom? By Ralston himself.
Yeah.
And this one, that means what's the other text? The Sea Story.
I'm not quite sure who wrote
Who's
it.
written this? I need to
It
figure out whether it's an autobiography, both of them, because that would be a comparison, or that
yeah,
would be a
they're both
similarity.
autobiographies.
Yeah. So ice swimming in Tom's. Hmm, let me check who has written this. It's not really mentioned who is the author here.
It doesn't say, but it just says the writer describes an experience he had in Toronto.
Okay, where is it? Where is it written that the writer describes his experience here? Okay, writer in this passage, the writer describes an experience. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He had in terms. So yeah, so we can say that it's actually being narrated by the author himself, along with the group of his friends, right? So it's an autobiography of the writer. So that is the other similarity which you find here, right? So language wise, both are actually an autobiography. And apart from this, you can also say that uh, the writers of the two texts use the same genre of an extract from an autobiography to convey their thoughts and the perspectives about the experiences. And also, you can mention that the texts are mentioned aimed at similar audiences, right? So you just give a comparison when you are actually Okay, I'll just give you the opening lines. So you can start off like this when you're doing a comparison of the two texts or similarity of the two texts. You can start off by saying that the writers of both the text use the same genre of an extract from an autobiography to put across their ideas and their point of view about their experiences. Okay. Should I actually write this down? The opening lines?
Yes, please.
Okay, let me just write it down here for you. So you can say here, the writers of the two text use the same genre next of an extract which across which puts across the perspectives and thoughts, experiences, specific places. Okay, so this can be your kind of a starting line. The writers of the two texts use the same genre of an extract from autobiography, from an autobiography, which puts across your perspectives and thoughts about the experiences at specific places. Right? So this is going to be your opening line. And also, it appears that the autobiography is intended at similar type of audiences. Similar type of audiences. So you can say that.
Could this be used as an introduction line?
Yeah, that's the initial lines, right? The initial paragraph,
Okay.
the first paragraph. Yeah, you can say it's these are introductory lines, right? Then you mention that what is the first one? What is it?
The text or
Swimming in Tromsø.
yeah, ice swimming in
Ice swimming in
Tromsø.
Tromsø. Ice swimming in Tromsø. So you can say that what exactly they are and for whom they have been compiled. Ice swimming in Tromsø intended audiences who are interested in swimming and water adventures. While what was the name of that story, the previous one? Rock in the Hard Place, right? While the rock and a hard place is intended to is intended for those audiences who interested in trekking and mountaineering. Right, so this can be your third line. Ice swimming in Tromsø is intended for audiences who are interested in swimming and water adventures, while the Rock and a Hard Place is intended for those audiences who are interested in trekking and mountaineering. Have a look there.
Yeah.
Just add audiences. Audiences or audience. Yeah, audiences is also okay. So this is going to be your initial line, but you have to elaborate on this. I'm just giving you a nutshell idea of how you have to start off and what are those things you're going to kind of cover up when you write this essay. Okay. So apart from this, what else? However, both the work, both the autobiographies both the autobiographies are intended both the autobiographies are frightening and chilling account, frightening, nerve-wracking, nerve-wracking, and chilling count of adventurers who are stuck cusp cusp of death.
Sorry. Could I ask a question?
Yeah.
When it says language and structure, do we also need to write about language techniques both writers use?
Yeah, not just techniques. Okay, techniques and structure both sound almost similar, right? Structure here also means what exactly is the purpose of writing this, but both the works for that matter, and also structure here also means what are the grammatical and language technicalities involved in this. Okay, you have to talk about that as well. Language structure, when we talk about, it includes the technicalities of grammar and technicalities of language here, English language, that have been used. Okay. So if the question that they have asked is, let me just look at the question once. Question is that so similarities and difference in the language and structure. In the language and structure, not just the language, but the structure of the language. Okay, you have to talk about both, right? What kind of language structure they have used, and also you can mention that in the first one, that is the first one, that is this ice swimming in Toronto, is actually they deal with a lot of reported speech, sorry, in direct speech rather, right? While in here, in in the second one, the second story, there is not so much of kind of, there is more like reported speech rather than kind of direct speech, right?
Sorry,
This,
so is the Tromso text the direct speech and the
yeah,
rock and a
we
hard
can see
place?
that in direct speech is there, and also some narratives are also there, right? So there's a bent of autobiography in, because generally in autobiography the person is talking about himself or herself, right? But here we find that this is an autobiography where the person has also talked about certain quotes and speech that has been given by certain set of people over there, right? If you just go through the first or the second page for that matter, you'll just come across this idea here, right?
Sorry,
What
what type of speech?
speech, like for example, what do I stand on while I'm getting ready, I asked poignantly. So he's talking about himself, probably he's talking to himself. Whom he does he
Yeah,
talk?
but in rock and a hard place,
Mhm.
isn't that also direct speech, or is it reported?
Now, if the speech is in double inverted commas, okay, then
Um,
that becomes a direct speech. So why do you do
I
this? It's a reasonable question to put on the group once we are safely gathered on the fire. There must be wonderful health benefits. No, says the starter of the two men. Okay. The one what I now see is an impressively purple nose. Not really. It's about doing something crazy. So yeah, there is some question, and then there's some kind of reply coming in, right?
in rock and a hard place, they have
Yeah.
certain lines where they like read their thoughts out loud, such as um come on, move, like that's putting in like single line inverted commas to
Okay, let
indicate
me
his like thoughts.
okay, let me just check once.
It's on line 56, last line.
Line 56, last line. Okay, one. Okay, line 56, last line. Oh, have you provided the text? Okay, I think you just provide the text, right? But where is it? I can't see the text. Okay, yeah, it's here. I got it. Line, which line you said? Line 53.
56.
Line 56. Standing on that, I braced my thighs under the boulder and thrust upward repeatedly, grunting, "Come on, move!" Nothing. Right. Okay. So he's talking to himself, right? Yeah. Or is there any other character? So he's just there, right? He's the only character in that story. Vesha?
Yeah.
So is he talking to himself, or is he like, kind of, there's another character in the story? Whom does
I
he
think
refer
he's
to?
I think he's talking to himself because he was alone in this entire situation and he's talking to himself.
Yeah. So maybe that is one Get your hand out there. I yank my arm 3 times in naive attempt. My mind commands. Okay. So yeah, he's talking to himself here, and he says it in a direct speech. But here in the first story, in the story of Tronso, you find that the person is not talking to himself. In fact, he talks to his other members of the kind of the journey that they have undertaken, the other members of the swimming team, of the swimming group, right?
So would it be direct speech
Yeah,
except
both. Yeah,
he's
both are
talking to
actually.
himself?
Yeah, except yeah, that's actually one thing you can say. That's a dissimilar. That's a actually the dissimilarity or difference, and the fact that both are actually in direct speech. That's actually a similarity, right?
Okay.
So that's what you can mention here, and also you can figure out that there are a lot of personifications that have been used. We mentioned that as well. Um, Personifications. How much? Now you try to focus on figure of speech, right? If there are plenty of figure of speech that have been used here, I feel that in both the write-ups, kind of they have used a lot of figure of speech, right? And that's also mentioned here as well, right? So the language, the verbs, the adjectives that they've used, you have to focus on that part,
Mm.
right?
So
Figure of speech, how much? Just focus on the fact that both the writers have used a lot of figure of speech, and but what exactly their personifications are there, which are present in
sorry, what do you mean by figure of speech?
figure of speech means what do you call it? I forgot the technical name, like metaphor, personification, simile,
Oh, okay.
right? These are all figure of speech.
Are they used in both texts?
Yeah, probably they have used plenty of them.
Oh,
Both
so it says in the Ice Tronso text on line 34, it says the searing pain of the icy hit as the gunmetal grey sea.
yeah,
Would is that use of adjectives?
line 34, right?
Yeah.
With the final instruction to watch out for sea urchins, we walk on into the water, adrenaline dulling the searing pain, searing pain of the icy, yeah, searing pain, you can say, searing, what kind of pain it is, it's searing pain of the icy hit as a gunmetal gray, sea gray, gunmetal gray, yeah, so it's actually talking about the way the sea actually looks like, right? Stretches ahead of us. So that's an adjective for sure. We keep up a decent pace, so ankles, knees, crotch, vest, each of which used to be a milestone when we were little and easing ourselves into cold rivers. Okay, a lot of adjectives are here. All
Sorry.
fall to the enemy. Adjectives are they are part of speech. They are not figure of speech.
Is
Uh,
the moment when the wild beast falls to the lions, is that a metaphor?
yeah, the next and final cruelty, the moment when the wild beast falls to the lions, the shoulder and the moment. Next and the final cruelty, the moment when the
Would that
wild
be personification or a metaphor?
um the wild beast falls to the lions. So what kind of comparison? Yeah, it's actually a metaphor, not really a personification, because it's a comparison that's being done here. But you have to explain what comparison has been done here. What has been compared here? You have to mention
Um,
that.
it's being compared to his situation by comparing it to how he's finally in the water.
Okay. So the next and the final quality, the moment when the wild beast falls to life, like the moment he gets into the water, the feeling that he gets is similar to the feeling when a wild beast actually is trapped, or maybe it's actually kind of hunted down by a lion or by a group of lions, right?
Yeah.
That kind of feeling is there. Yeah, absolutely. You can go ahead with that, so you can actually figure out that it's actually a metaphor, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
the longest time has done, and also 6 minutes the longest time, right? Apparently 6 minutes is longest time anyone has done. Though a stout Russian lady, they all know who can do 20 does get a respectful mention dispatches, or you can leave this one. But look for simile, look for kind of figure of speech here. So this is
And
actually
then
this part of language structure.
language structure. Okay.
Yeah.
So does structure mean more of the technical
Yeah. Technical nitty-gritties of language, right?
and then language itself would be like how the writer
Yes.
describes something.
Yeah. The danger point is when the blood. Let me see once here. The danger point is when the blood leaves the extremities to concentrate on the core. I last little over a minute out, which I feel I can make for the bank without having to let myself down. Just have to the initial symptoms of hyperventilation in the body. Just okay. No says it's starting. It suddenly feels. It's, mm,
Sorry. For a simile, could I use line 12?
yeah. If there is line like and as in the sentence, so always it's going to be a simile.
Okay.
All right. Line 12 you are saying, right? Let me check
Yeah.
once. Line 12 of the first text.
Yeah.
Uh,
No.
I
The
feel
ice
like our son.
swimming. Yeah.
Yeah, 10, 11, 12. I feel like our son Rex before he gets he's got an important line in the school assembly. Yeah, it's a simile. Of course, yeah. Good. I feel like our son Rex. So he's actually making a comparison by using the word like. So it's actually a simile.
Sorry. One more question. Really sorry. So in between the first text and first text and the second text, I'm not sure how to explain, but they both use singular words. Like in line 16,
Mm-hmm.
he says gone, all gone, and it's similar to how in the um, other text, on the last line of the text, he says, come on, move, nothing. Am I able to compare those two like statements?
Gone, all gone, and now the moment is cruelly upon us. Right. This you are comparing with the other
Oh,
story,
no, no,
right?
no.
The rock and
Yeah, I'm comparing it from gone, all gone, and come on, move, and nothing.
come on, move, and nothing in a rock and the hard place.
Yeah,
So what kind of comparison are they like? How
I'm not
do
quite sure,
what kind?
but it's like the repetitive, um, like single use of a word to like, I'm not quite sure.
Gone, all gone, and now the moment is cruelly upon us. Yeah, it actually both are similar in the sense that both the lines actually puts across to us the idea of struggle and the the motivation in an individual is to stay alive. Okay, no matter what kind of situation they are in, right? So it's actually a vehement struggle that is there in the person's mind to survive and not to give up, right? In the
Okay.
event of a very hostile situation, probably.
Is
That's what
there,
both these lines are.
sorry, is there like a structure for this, like single used words to make a dramatic effect?
Single use word. Yeah, there are a lot of words which are highly expressive, right? And they are adjectives actually, right?
Okay.
So you can talk about that as well. We move heartily towards a water line. And this is also in line number 26, you find another simile, like an infantry regiment gathering below lip of a trench, right? So that's a simile as well. So the lines are filled with a lot of figure of speech as well as a lot of adjectives, right? And these and the idea in the first one, especially in the first one, ice swimming in Tromso, is to give us a sense of kind of understanding about the level of adventure and the level of you can say excitement, right, that is present there in the story. The level of adventure and that is there, that actually lets us understand But that is actually put across to us by the usage of specific phrases and words and adjectives for that matter, right? Searing pain, right? Adrenaline dulling. Then, then he talks about what do you call it? Frantic swimming, right? These are all expressions and or rather adjectives which are making us believe that this is really a kind of heart-throbbing and heart-stopping event that is happening. This is really
Mm.
taking us to the next level. It makes us feel excited. It keeps us on the tip of our toe, and we actually we are just glued to what exactly the author is talking about, right? So it's just that the author is trying to make the entire story all the more adventurous, and in order to make it all the more make the story all the more adventurous and exciting, the author has actually used this kind of kind of expressions and adjectives for that matter, as also the author has actually used this kind of what do you call it this kind of figure of speech, right? So it goes
Mm.
both ways for that matter.
Okay. Um. Sorry.
Those are, yeah. Anything else you'd like to ask me?
Yeah. Sorry. That I've looked at both texts, but I'm not sure how to like explain in like my essay. Like, there's like a difference in which like the author in A Rock in a Hard Place uses more like there's like compared to more like ice swimming, it's more dull, as in
Hmm.
there's not many like metaphors, simile. He doesn't use many um like comparisons
Yeah.
other than like um uh akin to
Yeah, he does
um
use, if you go to not so much, not so much. You can see alliteration is also there in line number, I think, I don't know, you have marked it as alliteration, right? Some alliteration
um
is also present there. And
yeah.
I yank, it's actually an aggressive verb, right? Tearing the skin
Mm.
off. Then anxiety has my brain tweaking. Right? These are
It's
words
just
which are,
in
yeah.
like language wise, um ice swimming seems to have more of like a friendly type of like narrative to it, because it uses like
Mm,
comparisons to his son, and then has it more of like a speaking manner to it instead of a reporting tone.
absolutely, yeah, that's correct. Both are actually a little different in the sense that one is more hostile, the other one is actually a little friendly. That's what you can say. But one common thing that is there in both of them is the fact that both actually express a sense of fear and a sense of kind of numbness in the reader's mind, right? Readers who are going to read both these essays are going to become numb and kind of maybe shaken for a while because of the kind of rhetorics that have been used, expressions that have been used. The idea of this expression is to just express a feeling of numbness in the reader's mind, right?
Mm.
Alliterations have been flaring, agony throws me into panic. Uh, so all these lines are actually full of rhetorics. Rhetorics means a lot of figure of speech are there in, I think figure of speech are there in both of them,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
So you can just make a head start like with the help of the lines which I have given. And
Okay.
when are you going to submit this one?
um it's um it's on Tuesday.
Tuesday. That is day after tomorrow, right? You can
Yeah.
finish it off today and just get it checked by me. I'll just go through it and do the necessary corrections. Okay. Finish it
Okay.
off. Okay. And let's see how it goes.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
And don't forget to send it to me. Otherwise, I won't be able to check it. All right, Vaisha. I'll see you again. Do take care. Bye bye.
Okay. Thank you.
Good night.
Night.
You're welcome. Bye bye.